Hi, Audrey. It's Alexandria Delgado in Los Angeles. I just wanted you to know I was just at the picket line this morning at Paramount. This has been my 12th picket since the strike started. I went by myself to Sony on the first day of the writer's strike and was so nervous as an actor. And everybody was so lovely and it was so easy, and they provided signs and shirts, and you get to talk to such incredible people who have had such incredible careers. It's such an amazing community. I just can't say how much I've loved the experience of picketing and supporting each other in this union, and even the non-union people that come. Oh, I feel like there's shame involved when they're like, oh, I'm non-union. I'm like, oh my God, you're amazing. And everybody's so welcoming, and I just can't encourage people enough to just go picket. It's great for community. It's great for getting to know people. It's great to just support something that's important. And if SAG goes on strike, we should be out there more often than we currently are. Can't wait to see you guys on the picket line. Bye.
Hi, everybody. This is Audrey Moore with the Audrey Helps Actors podcast. This is episode 105, Strike Chatter with SAG-AFTRA Negotiators. This is a really important episode. I wanted to make sure that everyone had a close understanding of what is currently happening right now as our negotiating team is in there negotiating on our behalf. We have today Duncan Crabtree-Ireland and Ray Rodriguez, these two fine gentlemen. I'm very passionate about getting everyone to understand that, first of all, you are the union and the union is you. People often talk about the union as this thing that is sort of other, like there's this group of magical people somewhere making decisions on our behalf. And I want to be very clear that that's not what is occurring. The union is made up of two factions, the membership. So that's all of us working all of the contracts that SAG-AFTRA includes. Then there's the staff. This is staff that SAG-AFTRA's membership hires through our dues, through all of that, to be on staff. So when we're talking about who's going into negotiations, who are the people that are going in and fighting on our behalf every year for every contract that's being negotiated, currently the TV theatrical contract, that is comprised of both staff and members who have been very heavily involved, some of them for decades, and on average, 100 plus to several decades worth of meetings on this contract and other contracts to really understand what's going on. We talk a lot about having trust in the people that are negotiating on your behalf. And if you don't know who these people are, which many of you don't, because you just haven't, for whatever reason, gone to meetings, seen these faces, heard their voices, seen how involved they are, then of course you could have wiggle room to have some skepticism, some lack of faith, because you don't have a full understanding of who really is on your side, who's got your back. So we have today Duncan Crabtree-Ireland. He is the National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator of SAG-AFTRA. He's the BMOC. He is the top dog. He's had over 2 decades with our union. We also have Ray Rodriguez. He is the Chief Contracts Officer for SAG-AFTRA and has served as either lead negotiator or second chair in all major negotiations since taking on his role when the unions merged. Okay, so we recorded this last week. As you can imagine, they are very busy, and I wanted to get both of them on board to discuss with me what is going on. We discussed everything about the contract negotiations that started on the 7th of this last week and are going to be going for 3 weeks. This is a shorter episode. Again, it's to the point. That's what I'm here for the strike chatter. We all need to know what's going on right now with negotiations, possible strikes, current WGA strikes. So please share. I work really hard for these ones to be as digestible as possible. So I hope you find it helpful and I hope you spread the word. This week's podcast is brought to you by Staff Me Up, the #1 network for production jobs. There are lots of contracts that you can be working right now that are not on strike. They are not forbidden by the WGA, and if we were to go on strike, by our own union. If you are looking to create some material or you know someone who is, you may not be aware of the incredible resource called Staff Me Up. You can find your entire crew on Staff Me Up, promo code Audrey35 for $35 off a premium annual membership. Save money. All right, everyone. I hope you're on your way to an audition, and I hope that you book it. Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with the Audrey Helps Actors podcast. And today we have, if you will each introduce yourselves.
Sure. My name is Ray Rodriguez, and I am the Chief Contracts Officer for SAG-AFTRA.
Hi, I'm Duncan Crabtree-Ireland. I'm the National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator of SAG-AFTRA.
And you are both so cool, if I do say so myself.
Oh, wow.
I don't get that a lot.
Well, here you get it. So I want to talk about your history together at the union. Rumor has it you've been working together for like 17 years. I hear they call you the brothers, which I just love. So tell me a little bit about your time together at the union.
Yeah, no, well, look, I think the world of Ray. We have worked together, as you said, Audrey, for, I think, over 17 years, actually. And awesome. I have always appreciated Ray and thought he was an amazing negotiator and a very talented lawyer. But I'll tell you, since taking over this job as NED and Chief Negotiator about 2 years ago, my appreciation for Ray has just grown even more because he really is such a knowledgeable person and such an extraordinary talent in negotiations and contracts. And he is a wonderful asset of the union. He is what helps make it work. And he knows this, but I can't appreciate him enough. He's also very calm. He's a very calming influence, which is a really good thing in the place we work.
That's true. Yes. And Ray?
Thank you, Duncan. I appreciate that. It's actually been 19 years that Duncan and I have been working together. So even longer than that. And yes, I mean, I've always had an appreciation for Duncan as well. But in his new role, he has really demonstrated a level of creativity and a willingness to do outside the box thinking and outside the box tactics in order to achieve things that I've developed a tremendous respect for. So I feel like we are a good yin and yang. You know, I've been in these trenches more directly than Duncan until he became chief negotiator, but he's bringing a very new perspective on things. And he's also a great boss, which is nice to work for good people. So I think people should really have a lot of confidence in Duncan. I've seen him in a couple of negotiations now, and I just think his ability to problem solve and be creative has made the difference already in so many negotiations. So the members are really well served having him in this role.
I so agree, and I just want to ditto to both of you. I've had the pleasure of seeing you, Ray, in I think every single meeting that I've gone to, and people know I go to a lot of meetings. You're always there, and you are so present. And I love having you both be a part of the union for such a long time, really boots on the ground. Especially because, you know, I was talking with some friends, and I think that there is this union busting narrative that goes around. And one that particularly affects us is that the AMPTP has like these big shot lawyers, like these crazy, you know, corporate lawyers. And that it's just like this like sad little gaggle of enthusiastic actors that show up to negotiate against these AMPTP lawyers. And that's obviously a misrepresentation. And I'd love to talk about your roles in showing up to these negotiations. I know, Ray, you've been involved in, so many negotiations. You know who you're up against. Duncan, I know that you also went and sat in on the WGA negotiations as a guest. So you are understanding what the treatment was like in that room before showing up to our own room and our own negotiations. So I would just love to talk about that.
That sounds great. And I guess, if we could, I would just say that narrative that you mentioned, I know it's definitely out there. But in addition to having what I think are some of the best negotiators in the industry on our side, our committee, it is not in any way a sad gaggle of actors. It is really impressive. And, I have seen our committees, not just this year, but in prior years, but this year too, these committees are willing to stand up and fight. If it were something we could just live stream to the public, our members would be really proud of what the negotiating committee and their negotiators do on their behalf, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I would say that narrative has never been true. I think of the negotiators that came before Duncan and I, and, it is a very impressive group of people that has come before us, and we're doing our best to live up to that standard. But we are at least evenly matched, with our opposite numbers of the AMPTP. And we have a lot of members like that, knowledgeable people that have been in the industry forever, and some very experienced people who've been in negotiations for as long as I have. So this is a formidable group. People should disabuse themselves of that narrative.
And there's a reason why the industry is constantly trying to hire away our staff.
Yes.
Ray and I go into these negotiations, we see quite a few people we've worked with in the past across the table from us. And that's because these companies recognize that we have some really amazing talent who are working on behalf of performers, and they like to try and steal them away.
Snatch them up. Yeah, that's one of the things that also I really want to impress upon people, because I was one of those people that didn't understand that there was the actors who are showing up to negotiate on behalf of the actors, and that those actors have actually been attending, I mean, many of them decades of meetings, others who are maybe newer to the scene but still have attended in the year, I mean, at least 100 some meetings of just constantly going to meetings and learning the contracts, learning what the issues are, listening to membership. And then there is a team thing that happens between the staff of SAG-AFTRA, who are the negotiating members such as like yourself, and then the SAG-AFTRA actor negotiating team, and that those two come together. And also, I want to say, people don't know this about SAG-AFTRA, but we're a really powerful union, actually. And that people in the union and labor movement, like people who want to get into the labor movement, getting into the SAG-AFTRA world is actually a really big deal. Like if you go and work for SAG-AFTRA as part of the labor movement, that's a real feather in your cap. I don't think people who are not part of that understand that. So I just wanted to communicate that to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. And certainly we try to be a good partner in the labor movement in general, and of course, an effective union for all of our members. I mean, that's why we're here. I was just meeting with some new employees this morning. Every time we hire new employees, I meet with them to just talk to them a little bit. And the passion that even new employees have for joining this organization and furthering the mission. We were talking about what a difference it is to work in a place where you can help people and actually make a difference in people's lives, like our members' lives. It's a passion for the folks who work here.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things I really wanted to get into is, obviously we have this strike authorization that we, as of right now, we don't have the tally in. I strongly believe that that's going to pass. I know all the momentum of every single person I'm talking to, and I've got a lot of ears out to actors, is I believe that's going to pass with flying colors. So if that happens and a reasonable negotiation isn't going forward from the AMPTP, if we feel like they are not negotiating fairly, then we do decide that we're going to go on a strike. I wanted to ask about a media blackout first during the negotiations. There is, I believe, often media blackouts in an actual negotiation. Will that happen? And if so, what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think we will probably have an agreement with the AMPTP not to negotiate in the press during the 3 weeks and 2 days of our scheduled negotiations. And so what that'll mean is we won't be issuing press releases, we won't be doing press interviews or stuff like that. We will be able to update our members as appropriate during that process. But a lot of times, because of the nature of negotiations, there's not a lot we can say while it's happening. If we get to the end of that period, and it is possible that we don't have a deal. I mean, I believe we will have a deal, but if we don't have a deal at the end of that period, then our national board will make the decision, is it time for us to go on strike? And if so, then definitely at that point, there will be substantial communication to the members. Members will be informed of what's happened in the bargaining, why we're going on strike, if we are, what the back and forth has been on certain issues, et cetera, because we want to have a fully informed and activated and engaged membership. But to try and make the best deal, we need to stay focused on the bargaining during that bargaining window.
Yeah, and I want to talk to Ray about that in terms of why it is that we do blackouts during negotiations. I think a lot of people don't understand the idea and the concept of just like what a negotiation is. That it's, I'm asking for this thing, you're asking for that thing, and we kind of come to some, I'll give you this, you give me a little bit of that. And part of a negotiation is also we don't want to tip our hat in terms of what are the things that we are strong on. It's like there is no negotiations here. And things that we're like, oh, okay, I mean, like if you take that, but give us this. My understanding is that's part of why the media blackout is in place. Is that correct, Ray?
Yeah, that's right. People have to be willing to take some degree of risk to move the ball forward in a negotiation. So they have to be prepared to say, for example, well, we might be willing to do X if you are willing to do Y. Right. And if they are concerned that it's immediately going to show up on deadline, that they're willing to do X, or that we're willing to do X from our side of the table, it may deter them from making that offer in the first place, in which case you have a really hard time moving the ball forward because nobody wants to take a step that they fear that they're going to be criticized for publicly or that's going to be presented publicly without their opportunity to give it any context. And so in order to facilitate the deal making, you really want to keep that tight and keep that between the negotiators. That doesn't necessarily, as Duncan alluded to, media blackout does not mean that we are unable to communicate with members. But the dynamics of the negotiation, as you're explaining at any event, really make it more favorable to reaching a deal if we keep the circle tight while the bargaining is happening.
But wait, Duncan, Ray, you brothers from another mother, wait, I have to interrupt you. This Picket Line Check-In is brought to you by Staff Me Up. This is actually the #1 network for production jobs in TV, film, digital, media, and entertainment. I really wanted everyone to know about this platform. A lot of times when creating your own content, it's sort of like, hey, what do I do? Where do I go? And this is actually an incredible site for finding qualified people for whatever it is that you want to create. Since 2003, Staff Me Up is the leading hiring platform for media production, where people who work in the industry go to hire and get hired. Staff Me Up offers its users to connect, hire, and be hired and bring projects to life. If you are a person who is mostly on the acting side and not so much on the production side, but you want something that is reliable for production, just know people in production use the site all the time. Jesse has found many incredible qualified professionals on Staff Me Up, and I hope you do too. For a limited time, they are offering listeners of the podcast $35 off a premium annual membership. Use code Audrey35 when you check out. Go to staffmeup.com/Audrey. Offer expires soon. Staffmeup.com/Audrey. Promo code Audrey35 for $35 off a premium annual membership. All right, here's an update from a listener on the strike lines. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to hear even more.
Hi, Audrey. This is Stephen Cannon. I am an opera singer turned actor based in Los Angeles. Today is June 2nd, and this was my first chance to go support WGA on the ticket lines, and it just so happened that today was the day that Audrey organized for fans of the podcast, SAG members, and anybody who could to come out. And we had such an amazing turnout. Everybody who I encountered was amazingly friendly. There was food, there were beverages, there were stickers and buttons. There was so much good stuff there. If SAG does move to strike, and I say this as a pre-member, please get out and support WGA. Please get out and support SAG. It is important and it matters to them. And we all just want to be sure that we are going to be paid what's fair and reasonable at the very bare minimum, because we're working hard to do this. We put a lot of time, we put in a lot of money, we've sacrificed a lot to be here. So please don't be scared. There are a lot of great, friendly people. It is a darn good time. So go. Don't even hesitate. Please go. And if I see you there, I would love to chat with you and get to know more about you and tell you about me, because this community we have is awesome.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Well, that also brings me to, while the bargaining is happening, I'm really focused on actors understanding empathy, compassion, camaraderie with everyone within our industry. And that really includes the two of you, honestly. The staff that shows up, the people that are giving their time, the volunteer members of our union who are going and negotiating. So these are actors who, like I said, have been attending hundreds to decades of meetings on our behalf. And they are working actors who are involved. So one thing that I wanted to know is, during these bargaining times, during the negotiations, what can we as an average member do to show our support to the committee? Because you guys are going to be tired. I'm going to be so tired. And I want to make sure that we can do whatever we do to continue to give you love and energy and passion and compassion. So what would that look like?
Well, for me, I think one thing that would look like is, staying positive in social media interactions and things like that, making those about the union's strength, the union's solidarity, unity. I know sometimes people start to get a little worried or nervous or whatever, and they start speculating about things that they think might be going wrong or whatever. And I just think, fundamentally, if people can have trust and faith in the negotiating committee that's been appointed by their national board, if they can have trust and faith in their negotiators that we're here fighting for them to make sure that we get the best possible deal, and they just express support for that, knowing that they will receive information as soon as we can and that we're all in this together, I think that will be really encouraging, because then we don't have to spend our time trying to put out fires based on false narratives or just conspiracy theories or things of that nature.
I love that. I mean, the false narratives thing, I can't tell you the number of times people have said to me, well, blah, 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 false narrative, and they don't realize it's a false narrative. And I'm like, well, I've been to 13 meetings this year, and I'm here to tell you that's not true. And it's because some rumor gets started. And, actors, we're known to be dramatic. It's called catastrophizing. It's a habit that we have. And I just want to really say that to people, that if you start seeing or reading online or within your friend group or your acting class, if people start, getting a little grumpy and a little agitated, just say, we don't know. And the best thing we can do right now is give full support and confidence both with each other and in social media and as a presence, because the other side has control of the media. So their narrative is already out there and loud, and we can't trust them. It's their prerogative to own the news and funnel out their own narrative. So we have to hold tight in our own.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different constituencies in that room, some of which definitely are okay with the idea of sprinkling some little things out here and there in the hopes that this stirs people up.
Yes.
So, yeah, the authoritative source is your union.
Yeah, that's really what I wanted to add, Audrey, is that's also a good time for people to stay tuned. Check your email, look on the union social media channels. And you've been explaining already the fact that the sources of information can be biased. You really want to stay focused on what's coming out of the union communication channels and not speculation on random websites.
Absolutely. Please, let's not with the speculation on the random websites or even any other news corporation's websites. I'm going to say, if it's not coming from the union, we don't know who's controlling that narrative or what their interests are.
By the way, I just don't want to forget to say this, Audrey. As an audio podcast, people can't see this, but your jacket is amazing.
Thanks. My strike jumpsuit has become legend at this point. So I was literally just at the picket lines. Everyone's there. I popped out to come do this interview, and I'm wearing my strike jumpsuit. So thank you.
I love it. I haven't bumped into you out on the picket lines yet, so I didn't realize it was a jumpsuit, but that's amazing.
Thanks. More patches to come, everyone. More patches. Okay, so then I wanted to ask about the negotiations and the length. So it's just over 3 weeks long, and that's relatively short. Is there any information about why it's that short? Is that standard? Is that not standard? What's going on?
It really has to do with the timing of bargaining and the other unions' contracts as well. So, all three, us, the writers and the directors, are all queued up. We have the same deadline as the directors. The writers are 60 days ahead of us.
Okay.
So there's been a bit of a traffic jam. And part of the reason for that is that the directors will ordinarily make an early deal. In a normal cycle of negotiations, the director's deal would probably be done already, would have been done months ago. And so, that tells you something about the cycle that we're in. It's also meant that everybody has less time than normal because we all have to get our negotiations done.
That's really wonderful information. Thank you for clarifying that. Now, in the event of a strike, I know we were all optimistic that a deal will be made, a fantastic deal will be made, but I do want to get ahead of this as somebody that is always trying to preempt talking about narratives, right? So that we're getting it from the people themselves. So if our union does go ahead and decide that a strike needs to happen, what is going to be the process of getting that info across to our membership about what we should do in terms of what contracts are okay to work? What does crossing the line really mean? Where will there be picketing? What is that communication, and where are we going to get it?
Well, if that happens, it has been more than 40 years since a strike has been called in this contract. There's
Crazy.
A lot of information that we would need to get out to members. We would use all of our usual channels for that. We would have live stream meetings so that we could convey that information, videos, member messages. I go out by email. We will also have information on the website and FAQs to answer all of those questions. We also will have an infrastructure built up to help have direct connections between members in the leadership and also members who might be intending to go out on picket lines, et cetera. So there's kind of a combination of all of that, and of course, social media as well. But I do want to emphasize what Ray said earlier, which is, especially in a situation like that, we really want people to focus on the union's official social media channels, because so many people get excited and it may not even be out of malicious motives, but they inadvertently convey inaccurate information, and then it spreads so widely. So it's really important, especially in something like that, which will be a very dynamic, fast changing situation, to really rely on those official channels so that you know that the information you're getting is 100% accurate. And we are very mindful of the importance of communicating really effectively and also really thoroughly with members in a situation like this. So we definitely will have all of those channels and probably some more beyond that open for communication. I also want to just pitch the fact that one of the things that we have now that we didn't have, 10 years ago, we have a member care contact center, which
Oh.
means we have people who answer the phone who are specifically trained in the most important and common kinds of issues and questions that members present. So the members can call in, talk to a live person, and get an immediate answer without having to be transferred around or having to wait a long time to get an answer and things like that. So if you have a very unique, complicated, difficult question, you might have to be referred on to someone. But a lot of the most common questions members will have, they'll be able to get answered through all of those online channels and also through our member care contact center.
Well, I love a member care contact center.
Me too. It has a 98% satisfaction rating for members who call. And most of those calls, the vast majority of those calls are answered in less than 60 seconds. They do an amazing job. And it's such an important communication lifeline to the membership.
I love that because I will say actors love direction and actors love notes. So anything that can help us in that direction, we're just like famished for it. Okay, I also wanted to ask, should a strike occur? As actors, we're going to get on the picket lines. We would be loud. That's what we do well. In terms of support from the union, what are things that we can expect?
Yeah, I think we have definitely starting with communication, of course, because without that, we don't have anything else. But on top of that, we'll obviously have logistical support that will help people know where they would want to go to picket. They'll know what kind of resources will be available there in terms of not only signs and T-shirts and things like that, but parking and bathrooms and the basics that you need to know in order to survive as someone who's out there on a picket line. And I think also we'll have additional information about support, for example, emergency financial assistance that can be provided through the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, through the Entertainment Community Foundation and other sources, places where people can go when they need help. And we'll also have additional information about things we're asking members to do, such as messages we are hoping people will deliver on a picket line, the fact that we'll be asking members to look out for people who might be crossing a picket line and keep us informed of that information so that we can be effective. If we are going to go on strike, we're all in on a strike if that's necessary. And that means we are shutting it down. And that means, if there are people crossing the picket line, we need to know it, and we're going to take action in regard to that. And hopefully there won't be.
Yeah.
I think given the level of support, there shouldn't be. Anyone who has any self-respect as an actor or a creative talent in this industry should know this is a battle that needs to be fought, and everyone ought to be on the right side of that.
Absolutely. And what I'm loving is the solidarity, not just within our own community in terms of SAG-AFTRA, but also globally. That in other countries, especially with the writers, England and Canada, they're saying, if anybody from our country goes and does a script for somebody in the United States, you're kicked out, you're done. We're not supporting you. So the solidarity, because I think globally we really see that as a labor movement, as a labor industry, not just our industry, but labor in general across the world, it's looking really sad, and people are being taken advantage of, and they are mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore. And so the solidarity has been really beautiful and really, for me, quite inspiring.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
I was just going to add into what Duncan and you were saying about the international support, and just to know we have had the international unions reaching out to us as well in connection with our strike authorization campaign. They're very supportive. Our contracts are really looked to around the world as the gold standard. And so when other unions see us dig in and ready to fight, they know that we're not just achieving this for ourselves, but in the bigger picture, we're achieving this for performers globally. And that's very important to them as it is to our own members. So we should feel confident that we're going to have that support.
Absolutely. And I would just piggyback on that and say, I don't know that everyone understands in the United States, SAG-AFTRA truly is the pinnacle leader of fair pay and treatment and safety for actors globally. And all the other countries, they want to reach what we achieve here. We are what they're striving towards. So yes, it's not just for actors here. To me, it is a huge issue, not just for us, but on a global level. And as things continue to progress, I hope that you feel that you can contact me. I am such a fan of both of you. I have a wonderful, incredible, active, engaged, learned, informed, hungry listenership. And I promise you that anything that you say, I will get it out to them. They will spread the word. A lot of them are pre-members. They have also been picketing and joining the lines, which is wonderful. And I'm loving to see the solidarity for the generation that is coming up.
That sounds great. We'll definitely be keeping in touch. And let me just say, Audrey, to your point, for your pre-members in your audience, a lot of the things that we are fighting for in this negotiation are going to be directly to their benefit. Yeah, it's just one great example. The impact of what we do in AI is going to be felt even beyond the scope of our contracts.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were all very well aware and having slight panic nightmares about it all. So yes, I hear you and I am grateful to you. And lastly, if you have any questions for me, you don't have to, and we can sign off, whatever you want to do.
I don't have any particular question other than just to say thank you for being such a supporter of the union and getting this message out, because solidarity, unity, and an educated, empowered membership is what it is all about. That gives me and Ray, I think, the sense of satisfaction in the work that we do, but it's also what gives us the leverage at the bargaining table to get the kind of contracts that our members need and deserve. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you both. I want to just say that I am so grateful to you and that I know what you do is a hard job. It is an exhausting job. It is a job that requires a lot of passion and a lot of focus. And I am really grateful to you both for that. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, Jane Marie, probably, LOL. I keep promising you Jane Marie. It just means you have more time to listen to the Dream podcast. Thanks so much to Duncan and Ray. I so appreciate you coming on and making this happen. Also, shout out to Katie Wallach for helping us get connected with all of this. This episode was mixed and mastered by Thomas Hank Snodgrass. Produced by Jesse Lumen, my husband, still so handsome. He gets older and gets better looking. Fuck that guy. This episode was edited by Taylor Martirana. Show music by Ari De Niro. Theme song by Alok Mehta and 108 Hill. And shout out to Matthew Patrick Davis as the mother of the review baby. These extra picket line check-ins are brought to you by Staff Me Up, where people who work in the industry go to hire and get hired. If you are looking for some Staff Me Up jobs, or if you're looking to hire somebody, check out Staff Me Up. Whether you're shooting something right now, maybe you're shooting some footage for your reel, or maybe you're listening to this post-strike, you've got some movie you want to work on, and oh my God, somebody dropped out and you need to replace that fast. That's especially where Staff Me Up comes in handy for everyone at production. It is really the place for freelancers. So if you're somebody who wants to hire people on the other side, or you are looking to get some experience and work on the other side, then please check out Staff Me Up. For a limited time, we're offering listeners $35 off a premium annual membership. Use the code Audrey35. Go to staffmeup.com/Audrey with promo code Audrey35 for $35 off your annual premium membership. All right, everybody, enjoy these strike stories. I hope to see you on the picket lines. I hope to see your posts from the picket lines. I will be in New York the week of the 17th. I will be on the picket lines there in New York City. I will post and let people know where I'll be. So hopefully if you want to come and see me there, I am excited to see you wherever you are. They've got picket lines in Santa Fe, New Mexico, ladies and gentlemen. There are picket lines to join. If you want to go hang out with George R.R. Martin and Neil Gaiman in Santa Fe, I encourage you to do so. And while you're there, I would just be so happy to hear from you. 667-ACTOR-70. That's 667-ACTOR-70. Give me your stories from the strike line. Or maybe give me like a before and after. Call like on your way, like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. What's going to happen? And then on the line, like, oh my God, it's so crazy here. Neil Gaiman's here. That's so cool. And then after, like, oh my God, Neil Gaiman was the best. He gave me a cupcake and it was so exciting.
Hey, Audrey. I'm at the strike lines with you. Come down and strike with us. We are on Melrose Avenue. It is not scary. It is very friendly, and we are supporting the WGA. Come join us. Woo!
Hi, this is Philip Cass. I am on the picket line in front of Paramount and supporting the writers' strike, which is so important to the writers and to the actors and to all of the people that are looking to make a living wage in this industry in a fair and equitable way. Woo! Thank you, Audrey, for all your support. Let's support all other artists. Thank you.
Hi, Hi, this is Brittany from LA calling from the strike line at Paramount. I just wanted to let all of you fellow actors know to come out and support the WGA. It's so fun and free. Meet new actors. Don't be afraid. Come on out. You're going to make friends and you're doing it for the best cause. We believe in each other because when one succeeds, we all succeed. See you on the picket line. This is Jordessa Pressler. I'm in the LA market. I'm calling from the picket line at Paramount. It is so encouraging. I was so nervous to come at first. I started at CBS Radford, and everybody has been so kind and so nice. It's the biggest party we want to end. It's so supportive. I really recommend if you haven't been out as an actor, I'm pre-SAG. I so recommend it. Get out there. See the encouraging community. See all of these people who are smiling and fighting for what is right and what is fair. It's the best. Get out there. What are you doing? Find a place near you. Let's do it.
Hi. Okay, it's Sam Howard calling from Los Angeles. Shout out to all the people that were just at the Self-Tape May Picket Corner. I just ticketed for the WGA. It was great. And the food was yummy. The support. I saw several different picket lines on my way to Paramount. And each of those times, that's when I cried. It's such a cool thing.
Hey, Audrey, this is Chris Yim from LA. I just got back from the meetup you hosted at the Paramount lot. It was my first protest, and it was a really fun time. Got to meet people, got to talk to writers about what they're going through, the strike, how they think things will pan out. There was plenty of food and water, and got to meet people in your community, which was fantastic. I found it really accessible and approachable, and would encourage anyone that's curious about what's happening in the industry right now and anyone that wants to support the WGA strike to go out and bring a friend. I really appreciate you bringing everyone together. Thank you.
Everyone, it is getting real out there, so don't forget your towel.